and I got a silver medal. And then my second Olympics, and I was also really I was a teenager and I was like distraught, and then my parents were like, okay, you're gonna be grateful because you're 18 and you just won a medal. And they quickly helped me put it all into perspective.
Hang on, you're moving so fast. You're 18, you win a silver medal at the Olympics, and you're distraught.
I was, yeah.
You're like, I suck, I'm not any good at this. Like, your parents are like, baby, you're doing fantastic. In my mind, that's what, I mean, how'd that go?
I think it's hard to explain, like when you like dedicate yourself and your goal is gold, right? And for me, with that silver medal, it felt like gold was so close. You know, in sprints, it could be hundredths of a second that you're missing out on gold. So as also being a teenager and just not knowing anything, you know, I quickly understood that no, this is an incredible thing. But it was also a great lesson because it taught me that it was going to take a lot more to get that gold medal.
What did it feel like when you made that first Olympics? When you knew you were going?
Yeah. Oh, it was incredible. You know, just to know that, you know, this huge thing that I was now a part of it. I was going to be an Olympian, and it was also overwhelming. It was the first time I had competed away from home on that level, and you know, I was competing against people so much older than me, and it was just a whole new experience. So at the same time, it was incredible, but it was also, I was really nervous about it as well.
I could only imagine.
Yeah.
Now, you grew up being a track and field star and always wanting to do track and field, right? Since you were a little tychus.
Not exactly. Yeah, for me, I have a different story than a lot of Olympians. I stumbled into track, and so I was in high school, and I was at a new school, didn't know anybody, and my family encouraged me to go out for the track team. And literally...
You stumbled into track.
Yeah.
You became the most awarded Olympian in track and field.
Yeah, not by design.
These guys understand that because none of them grew up wanting to be a real estate agent.
Yes, all of that.
They weren't like, man, if I just get good grades and I do the right thing and stay on the straight and narrow, I'm going to have a real estate license. So they fell into that. So they're with you. They're like, I'm with you.
Sometimes it finds you. And that's how it was for me. I went out for the track team hoping to meet new people and make friends. And the first day, the coach had everybody running 60 meters. And I came out just like everybody else. I ran my 60 meters and kind of looks at me, and he has like a weird look on his face, and he looks at his clock and he makes me do it again. And so I do.
Was he verifying?
And yeah.
Like, hang on a second, hang on.
Like something's up, and then he looks at the clock, same puzzled look, and he whips out like a measuring wheel, and he starts to like walk back the distance. It makes me do it again, and we go back and forth like this, and finally he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, who are you? Where'd you come from? Like, you're really fast. And we were off to...
What were you thinking during that time? Were you thinking good news, bad news?
I was like, am I doing something wrong? Like, why is, and also like, why am I the only one who has to run like 560s and like these other guys?
They ran 160, I'm up to 300 now. Yeah. How old were you?
At that time I was 14 years old.
Wow.
You started track and field at 14.
I did, yeah. And
you,
yeah.
But I'm just lost because a minute ago, you said you were at the Olympics when you were 18.
It all happened very quickly.
Wow.
Came out for the track team my freshman year, and
I've got clothes I haven't folded in 4 years. You like legitimately, I can wash and dry them. It's the folding that's hard, but the putting away. You went from basically like walking on.
Yeah.
Like in the NFL, you like walk onto it. You walked on the track and field, and you went to the Olympics 4 years later.
Yeah, it happened quickly, and it was so, a lot of natural talent and combination of working hard. But I think that first one, it was like, okay, you're here and it's incredible, you made it, but there's a lot to learn, and the evolution of where I went was, I evolved a lot.
How did you handle being 16, 17? You were 17 when you found out you were going to the Olympics, 18, was that right?
18, yeah.
So you're 18, you're going to the Olympics. Did you ever struggle with, did you ever have any ego around it? Did you struggle with like, how do you handle that at 17 or 18? Life's hard enough at 17 or 18.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I feel like I credit a lot of it to my family because they made sure that like, you're not special, like you will do.
You're an Olympian, but you're not special. Yeah.
Life at home is exactly the same. I remember when I was in high school and I was starting to have like, some success and things were going well, and my dad was like, okay, but is your room clean? Like, these are the important things.
I get the Olympics, but did you clean your room?
Exactly. So I felt like I had a great foundation, and my parents are both like people of service. My mom was a third grade teacher, my dad a pastor, and so that was just like how we were raised. And so I don't feel like I struggled from that aspect of like ego, but more so just like, this is all new and this is like foreign territory, and just trying to learn of how to keep up.
When did you know that track and field was going to be it for you?
Like towards my senior year, I knew that I really had a passion for it. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to the Olympics, that's when I was like, okay, there is going to be another level of this. Like I think it's like we were talking about, there's making it to the Olympics and wanting to enjoy the experience, and then it's I want to chase greatness. And I think that lit the fire of, okay, this is what I want to do, and now I need a game plan of how I'm going to be successful.
Well, even when I say that, it's not even an accurate statement when I say all you're going to do is track and field, which is incredible, and you've gone on to do so many other things. Mm-hmm. Like, you didn't stop there at all.
And that was definitely, again, like nothing that I had a master plan around. It was literally going through the different experiences and adversity that I did that really led me down this path of a life that I never would have imagined, as far as doing advocacy work and trying to create change and all these other things that came after that.
You've been called a trailblazer. How does that make you feel?
I don't feel like I am. I feel like I know actual people who have paved the way, and I have such deep appreciation for those, and I just want to do my part as well.
When I knew I was going to get the chance to interview you, which is tremendous honor, I did what anybody would do, and I started Googling. So I went to the Google machine, and I'm Googling, and I found all these threads and all these comments and people, and I started reading through them, and I saw person after person and woman after woman and mom after mom saying, "You've inspired me."
It's the greatest compliment.
Well, one said, it said, "Allyson, you'll probably never see this comment, but you've made it okay to be who I want to be."
I love that. That is that makes all of the really difficult moments and all the really dark times that I had as I was, pursuing motherhood and in my career, really worth it. Because for me, that's what it's all about. It's so that other women don't go through the same experience that I did. And if I could have even a little bit of impact on that honestly, it means the world to me.
Well, as evidenced by the internet machine, you've had a tremendous impact on that. Hundreds of comments. I read a bunch, and I was like, all right, I've read a bunch.
I love that.
A lot.
Yeah.
What an inspiration.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into coaching. You start running, and you're probably really good. How much did coaching play a role in this?
Coaching was everything. My longtime coach, we worked together for 18 years, and it was a great partnership. And it was crucial to my success. I really believe there's nothing that you can achieve solely by yourself. It's such a team effort, and our partnership really evolved over the years. I remember when I was that teenager, I started working with him when I was 19 years old. And he is my coach, Bobby Kersey, a very old school coach. He's like very demanding, he's a yeller, he's a screamer. Like, for the most part of the time, I thought he was absolutely insane.
Hang on, some of these clients get upset when we ask about their homework. They're like, hang on a second.
Yeah, and I didn't understand him at the beginning and just all of the things. And then I was very intimidated, when I was a teenager, and very rarely pushed back on anything. And then our relationship started to evolve, and as I grew, I understood okay, I have a voice, and I can have an opinion on this or that. But I feel like his guidance of my career has been crucial, and his wife, Jackie Joyner Kersey, is my mentor, and that relationship is invaluable to me. And it was just such an amazing team effort.
It's so crazy to hear. I was, a little, shy about pushing back, Because if you read the history of your life, you've done some incredible pushing back.
And
You've done some big time standing up.
I have, and I absolutely, by nature, I'm not that person. I am shy, I am an introvert. If you would have told me at some point that I would be like writing a New York Times op-ed and speaking out on these things, I would say like absolutely not. But it's funny the way that life works and the paths it takes you down, and yeah, it takes you to some uncomfortable places, because I can absolutely say at no point did I feel ready or I had the courage to do some of the things I had to end up doing.
Like us mere mortals, have you ever struggled with something called imposter syndrome?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think even more so since I have retired and I've started this shoe business, and just being in different rooms and feeling like I don't belong, and having to remind myself, that my athletic career has prepared me for a lot of these things. And yes, there might be a different language now and things might be called something new, but I'm absolutely prepared and I belong here, and I have to constantly go back to that.
Were there ever any early morning training sessions?
Yeah.
Just curious, was there ever
I'm not a morning person, so I prefer the let's keep working later.
In my mind, it's dark, it's raining, you don't want to go, there's a good show on Netflix, and you're like, I'd rather do this.
Sometimes it's like that. And those are the moments that you push through. Those are the moments, everybody has those moments. Like, I don't believe that there's someone who just always is like on and ready. No, we're all human, and there's the moments where you're just not feeling it. And for me, I would always think about my competitors. I would always think about okay, to have the success, to get there, I know they're training hard. I know they're doing everything that they can. So I have to make sure that I'm not cutting any corners, and I'm doing everything that I can to be ready.
You're 19. You've already won a silver medal. You end up with this coach. From there, who did the workouts?
That was me.
Who designed the workouts? You did them. But
I did them, he designed them, and it was the perfect partnership. I talk a lot about our work together. There's no way, some of the workouts that he gave us, they were insane, absolutely. I felt like sometimes he just wanted to torture us.
See how far, yeah.
Yeah, but then I realized he actually did have a master plan, and there was a whole thing to it. But he would never tell us what the workout was. So we would get to the track and he would say, get on the line, and we would be there, and we'd all in our mind be trying to calculate, okay, what could it be? 400, 600, where could it go from here? He would never tell us. And then we started to learn, he wanted us to be really mentally strong, and that's why he played all these mind games with us. But had he told us beforehand what the workout is, we would have been defeated. There's no way we would have thought it was possible to get through. And I think that's what you need. You need someone who can see that vision when you can't, and who knows just how to push you to reach that goal, because he knows that you're capable. And so it was this kind of beautiful song and dance that we were able to do.
Who knew that you were going to be the Allyson Felix we get to meet tonight first? You or him?
Definitely him. For me, we talked about doubts. There were so many doubts along the way, and questioning him, I think every year I would get to a certain point and I would be like, do you have a plan? Is it gonna come together? And he would constantly deliver, and it was just, then I had to say, okay, I trust you. I trust you to create the plan, and I trust you to push me enough to see it all the way through.
What about when you're worried?
Yeah, it's going back to that trust. There was so many moments of worry and doubt, but it was saying, okay, I've seen your track record, I've seen that you've done this before, and I believe that you'll do it again.
Was there ever a time you were like, man, this workout, I'm gonna break. My body's not going to make it. I'm going to break. Yes,
and I feel like it did. There were times where I would, feel like everything hurt. It was hard to walk, it was hard to do anything. And then you have to find a way to get back out there the next day and do that over and over. And it's just the cycle of the training.
the older I get, the harder it is. Like I went to put on my shoes the other day, and I hurt that night.
I'm with you.
I had to start stretching. Like this isn't. I can't do this.
The rest is just as important as the work. I always say that. You know, we've got to take care of our bodies.
So you competed 4 times. Competed 5 times. 5 times.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, your best. I mean, you crushed it at all of them. But you really cleaned up in London.
I did. Yes. So that was the Olympics for me. That everything came together, and I had really like pushed for that. So the first Olympics, silver medal. The second Olympics, another silver medal. And that one was really devastating because I was the favorite. There were so many expectations. It was just a lot. And to fall short of that one, it was pretty crushing. And so I remember after that games, you know, really rethinking everything, you know, my training plan, nutrition, like strength and conditioning philosophy, everything. Like how can we get better, even if it's a percentage? And came back and revamped everything and went to London and felt very confident and very sure. And it worked. Like everything came together. I won 3 gold medals. We broke a world record, and thank you.
Did you just say I went to London and won 3 gold medals and broke a world record?
It was pretty good.
That's like you just say that. Like I went to London, got some gold medals, and I broke a world record. And
yeah, it was special.
Exceptional.
It was special, and I had pushed for it for so long, and I think I thought that would happen, and like life would not be the same. Like, okay, this is the moment. I've wanted this for so long, and I remember returning back, you know, home, and everything was the same. Everything. And I was like, wait, what happened? And it took time.
In your room? Yeah.
You're right. It took time to unpack like what that really was about, and for me, it was the journey. It was the journey. That was the magic. That was the beautiful, like stretching and learning and growing. And it wasn't just, I put so much focus on the end point. And I think we do that in life. We think that, you know, whatever the thing we're striving for is, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be wonderful. And it is, but you don't want to miss the moments along the way. And for me, that's really what was special.
Silver medal. 4 years later, silver medal. But that silver medal came with disappointment.
Yeah.
First silver, not as much.
Not as much.
Were you running for gold on the first one?
I was, but definitely a different mindset. You know, I had learned, I think you learn so much from the experience, and I didn't have any experience at that point. I was just out there and...
Just at my first Olympics, yeah.
So as I learned the tools and I learned what worked for me and how to be mentally strong, and you know, I always talk about being an Olympian, and especially in track and field, and at my distance, you have 21 seconds. 21 seconds every 4 years to show the world what you've been working on. And for me, I, you know, fell short twice before, and so it's hard to wait another 4 years, and like, do you dedicate yourself? Like, is this gonna come together? Is it not? And really like taking that chance.
So third Olympics was London.
Yeah.
3 golds, world record.
Yeah.
Was the competition lower?
It wasn't. No, it was all the
Yeah.
same
It's harder.
folks coming back. Yeah, and it was really challenging. But I think what was different also was how I approached it. You know, my confidence. For me, like I find my confidence through preparation, and I write down every single workout. I have like a log, and I keep track of everything. And right before the big race, I go back and I look through it, and I see that I'm prepared, and that gives me confidence. Like now is the time that you put it together. The work is done. Like it's already there. Just execute, and that's what it's about.
That's how much you were different
Yeah.
between second and third Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
All right, when did the sponsorship with Nike come along?
Yeah, so I got with them around 2009, so it was going right after that second Olympics, going into the third. And yeah, I was with them for almost a decade before everything started.
Yeah, but I'm curious though. It's 2009. You've won 2 silvers. You're on the way back to the third Olympics, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go to London.
Mm-hmm.
you find out that you're going to be sponsored by Nike, and you have this relationship with Nike. How did that feel?
It felt good, yeah. I had been with Adidas, for about 60 years, and I was excited for something new, and I felt, this would really help me and support me and kind of take me to that next level. And so, yeah, I was thrilled.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
And it lasted about a decade, and then you had this crazy idea.
Then I wanted to start a family, and I got to this place where I felt like I was ready, and I waited a long time. I had this idea that I needed to accomplish so much first, and it wasn't because anybody sat me down and told me that, but it's really what I saw in my sport. I saw women struggle through motherhood and not be supported, and so I felt like, okay, well, if I accomplish everything first, maybe I'll be safe and that won't happen to me. And so, I had been to 4 Olympics, and I had, done all the things, and I was like, this is the time. And I ended up finding myself in the same position as so many women that came before me.
Which one?
Sorry that happened.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Sort of, because it also made you who you are right now.
It did.
Right? Isn't that the interesting paradox of those things?
Yeah.
Everybody in the room has some story that if we all got to hear, you'd go, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. And they would go, thanks. And it made me who I am.
It did. I believe it brought me to where I'm supposed to be. And so I wasn't fully supported through my pregnancy. I was, I was offered a contract that was 70% less than what I had been making before. And that was before I disclosed my pregnancy. And it was really challenging. I did what...
70% reduction?
70%, yeah. And I did what I had seen been done for as long as I could remember. Women hid their pregnancies, and so I did the same thing. I started to train in the dark. I would go out 4 o'clock in the morning. I would train on a track that it was just me, and I was terrified that because where my renegotiation started with Nike, there was nothing on paper.
There was a time in your life that you thought, I should hide this pregnancy.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I had nothing on paper to secure even the 70% less. And I knew that I still wanted to compete. I knew that I still could compete. But yeah, it wasn't...
I can't even imagine how that would feel.
Yeah, it was this time that I always wanted to be a mother, and I always had, those hopes and dreams. And my reality was so far from what I had dreamed. Here I was, wearing baggy clothing, barely leaving the house because I still wanted to do this thing that I loved.
I mean, I do that some weekends, but that's a very different... Yeah, it's very different. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I got to this place with Nike where, the negotiations weren't going well, and I shifted from a fight around finances to one around maternal protections. And basically what that means, for track and field, our contracts are performance-based. And so if you go to the Olympics, you go to World Championships, you get a bonus. But if you don't go, you actually get a reduction. And so if you have a baby during that time, or if you're pregnant, there was nothing in place to protect you from a salary reduction. And so what was happening in the sport was that women would get pregnant, or they would be coming back from having a baby, and they would basically be pushed out of the sport because of not being able to compete at that highest level. And so I simply asked for a time period to be able to return to top competition without facing a reduction. And I was actually told that I could have that. And I was like, oh, great, perfect, that's what I'm asking for. But when I got the contract back, there was no mention of maternity, pregnancy, anything. And so they were willing to give me time, but they weren't willing to set the precedent for all female athletes. And to me, that was just unacceptable, to be such an incredibly successful, large company. I really felt like they should be leaders, in this space. And so I remember exactly where I was. I had a very difficult, because this lasted for a very long time, I actually ended up having my baby during this time. And I had a very difficult birth. I gave birth 2 months early, and my daughter spent a month in the NICU. And so my perspective really shifted during that time. And I remember, when I was in my daughter's nursery, and I was watching her, and just this moment of kind of clarity where I felt like there's no way that I'm going to allow her and her generation to take on this fight. You know, even though for me, speaking out was terrifying. Like it was like the worst thing in my mind that I could have to do. But it was watching her. It was like, okay, this is what I have to do. And so I decided, along with teammates of mine, to share what had been happening publicly. We wrote a New York Times op-ed. It came out, and it was about 2.5 weeks later, Nike changed their policy. And yeah.